His theme, Manned Unmanned Teaming, MUMT, from concept to targeting, by Air Marshal Tejinder Singh, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Vayu Sena Medal, Deputy Chief of the Air Staff. Thereafter, we will have a panel discussion on the theme, chaired and moderated by former Chief of the Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal R.K.S. Bhaduria, Param Vishisht Seva Medal, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Vayu Sena Medal, retired. The panel includes subject matter experts from the fields of aerospace design, testing and certification, as well as industry.
Post the panel discussion, we will move on to the second event for the afternoon, for which we have the privilege of hosting Honorable Raksha Rajya Mantri Shri Sanjay Sethji as the chief guest. Air Chief Marshal A.P. Singh, Chief of the Air Staff, and Secretary Defence Production MOD Shri Sanjeev Kumar IAS will also grace the occasion. The event will witness declaration of results for Meher Baba 2 competition, launch of Meher Baba 3 competition, launch of Vayu with Digital Portal, and the release of IAF Compendium of Challenges and Opportunities for the Indian Industry by the Honorable Raksha Rajya Mantri.
May I now request Air Marshal Tejinder Singh, Deputy Chief of the Air Staff, to please enlighten the audience and deliver the theme address.
Former Chiefs, Air Chief Marshal Major, Air Chief Marshal Bhaduria, Air Marshal Chopra, distinguished guests and friends. First of all, I would like to thank you all for being here, and especially thank Air Chief Marshal Bhaduria for consenting to chair this very important topic session today. In the last couple of years, there has been a lot of talk of unmanned platforms holding the sway in the battle space and perhaps replacing the manned fighter. I think a more pragmatic and realizable solution lies in harnessing the potential or the ubiquity of the manned fighter, which will, in our minds, here to stay for much foreseeable future, as well as, along with it, harness the potential that unmanned platforms provide. So this topic of this seminar is in sync with the theme of Navachar Utkrishtam Bhavishyam. Innovation is the path to a better future. And we aim to discuss the concept of manned-unmanned teaming right from the discussion as a complete solution. This is a mission-critical step. It is not just a discussion. We are going to focus on those elements of this concept's fruition that will actually see translating into real action in the field and acquire this capability in the foreseeable future. This represents a transformative shift in combat operations. It enables real-time synergy between human decision-making and autonomous capabilities, enhancing situational awareness, operational reach, and precision targeting. As we see, we have been talking as far as warfare is concerned about enhancing joint venture. The buzzword now is multi-domain operations, wherein the elements that we are looking at is to attain information supremacy and cause information dominance and decision supremacy. MUMT gives the air warrior this unique opportunity to exercise both through harnessing the capabilities which are available through networking, high-speed communications, encryptions, and sheer performance. Various advancements in computing power, miniaturization of sensors and weapons, growth in the field of artificial intelligence have made this possible. The drones have increased in capability from lightweight nano drones to stealth unmanned combat air vehicles. The progress has been coupled with improvements in avionics, data links, and other smart sensors, which have permitted these unmanned elements to be a part of an organized group of identifiable capabilities. As against the UAVs, Moreover, drones themselves have demonstrated the capability of swarming that permit manned element to take a role of mission leader, while the frontline combat is delegated to swarmed elements. Presently, various entities, including HAL, you may have seen on TV yesterday, Group Captain H.V. Thakur giving an insight into the CATS warrior, and the private industry are working on this concept. However, developing the concept into its full potential demand not just a robust understanding, as well as it entails collaboration and partnership between the industry, academia, and research institutions. While I'm relatively new to this field of acquisitions and modern technology, but one thing which I have realized is nobody can do it alone. Whichever concept world over is successful, it is being achieved through harnessing capabilities, specializations which various players have, and they have come together. So I think collaboration, right from the operator to the researcher, and of course the industry, both private and public, is the key to having a solution, a complete solution that will give us the desired operational capability. The role of the industry is pivotal not just in developing this indigenous solution, but also in ensuring that rapid and timely development and seamless integration into operational doctrines takes place. It is only right that we start, crystallizing this concept. As you see, all the modern 6th generation fighter programs have this concept of manned-unmanned teaming embedded in them as perhaps not just an integral part, but the USP of the 6th generation fighter program is the manned-unmanned teaming. Our collective goal, therefore, should be to be self-reliant, where innovation within our borders ensures reduced dependency on foreign technologies. At the same time, trying to do it alone would perhaps not give us the desired results. We have to take on technology from abroad, collaborate with with the established players, and develop our own capabilities. Industry leaders, startups and agencies like DGAQA, CEMILAC, DPSUs, DRDO and services have to work hand in hand to address the operational requirements and fine-tune solutions in real time. I am sure that this seminar will provide an opportunity to various stakeholders to discuss the man-unmanned teaming and identify the critical technologies required to make it a reality. I would take this opportunity to extend a warm welcome and heartfelt gratitude once again to Air Chief Marshal Bhadoria, Director NAL, Dr. A. Fashilkar, Mr. Arun Peter from CEMILAC, and of course the industry rep who is transited from the uniform, Sconletta Joshi. They have taken out their time from their busy schedules in this, festive occasion which is taking place, where there's a lot of activity taking place, and be part of this seminar so that we can ideate and integrate and make a solution that is good for the Indian Air Force. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for familiarizing us all on the subject for today's event. Now, before we move on to the panel discussion, let me introduce you to our panelists and the chair. May I request our esteemed speakers to please take their respective places on the stage as we await an enlightening discussion on today's topic.
The chair for today's panel discussion is former Chief of the Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal R.K.S. Bhadoria, retired.
Our first speaker for the evening is Assistant Chief of the Air Staff, Ops Strategic, Air Vice Marshal A.K. Wahi, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Vayu Sena Medal, who will present the user perspective on MUMTI technology.
Dr. Abhay Anant Pashilkar, Director, National Aerospace Laboratories, will enlighten us on technical challenges and trends related to MUMTI.
Dr. M. Peter Arun, Scientist G, is Regional Director of RCMA Aircraft, CEMILAC.
The industry perspective and capabilities will be presented by squadron leader Sameer Joshi, retired. May I now hand over the stage to you, sir.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for keeping the introduction short so that we have time for real discussion. I will not take time initially. I would straight away go on to the speakers to express their opinion in their areas of domain and expertise on this very important topic, and I just want to compliment their efforts for choosing this as the topic of this discussion, because it is really the critical area that Air Force needs to excel in the times to come, and on a scale and a pace which should be unprecedented, if I can put it simply. So over to Vani for giving the Air Force perspective, and I would request, I've been told that 3 o'clock is hard cutoff. Yeah. 3 o'clock we finish. So 3 o'clock we'll just put mics off. So about 8 minutes each, and just leave 3-4 minutes for me at least.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Jai Hind, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, let me thank Air Chief Baduria for letting me take off first with the op perspective. I have precisely 450 seconds left in which I'll try to explain this concept to you and what Air Force believes on this. I've kept it simple. We need to look at the why, the what, how, and what the future holds as the Air Force looks at it. If I come to why, 3 questions come to our mind. Why not purely manned? Why not purely unmanned? And why not remotely manned from ground? And please understand, when I'm talking about these domains, I'm looking at a contested and a congested environment where the adversary has got similar capability. He has the capability of area denial, and he can project force against us. First, why not purely manned? It's going to be dense, and it is going to be a lot of air defense. Chances of losing aircraft in the initial part of the conflict remains high. We also have a lot of investment in training of the air crew. Replacing them becomes an issue. And also density, number of aircraft we need which are costly may not be there. Can it be replaced by unmanned vehicles which are slightly cheaper, low RCS, and which can do the work which a manned platform can do? Next, why not purely unmanned? AI is the backbone, and presently where we stand, our own indigenous development, 3 issues come out. One is data purity, the algo logics, and the computational powers. I think indigenous development needs to come up before we can look at this purely unmanned. Also, one issue which keeps lingering is the conduct of war, the ethics of it. I will not touch much upon it, but this also remains in the background. Why not remotely manned from ground? The issue is of bandwidth, the line of sight capability. You will have certain other COGs coming up. A satellite, if it is taken away, how does the whole system perform? Similarly, you have control centers on ground. If they are taken out, what happens? The vulnerability increases. So a mix. So what we need is a mix of both. What best of both the worlds, that the capability of the manned and the unmanned platform. And what is shown here is the CATS program, which has been driven by my course mate, and I'm proud of it. And this will help us mitigating both the weaknesses of both the manned and the unmanned platform. If I come here, what you see on the graph is on the x-axis is the years as they go by, and the y-axis is the combat enabling performance. So what is shown on the green portion is how the unmanned system will continue to develop and move ahead. As we go ahead in the years, you can see the slope of is going really up. Further, as we go up on the red one is showing the manned capability. You will see a slight bit of dip happening close to 2035. As per our understanding, during this period, what will happen is there will be excessive workload in the cockpit. Hence, further taking on the load by a pilot might be difficult. So what we look at the collaborative process, which is shown in yellow, where you will see there will be a continuous increase before there's a small amount of dip, which we understand would happen because of, once again, a pilot trying to take away the load of the both manned and the unmanned. This is what we have studied, and this is what Indian Air Force application as of now is. So, how do we do it? So we could have any of the concept. I have just taken out a wolf pack concept where wolf, the alpha male, could be a manned 4.5 gen or a higher gen aircraft, or it could be a mothership, a transport aircraft or a helicopter which is launching, which has the command and control center with it. And subsequently you have the pack which would be unmanned, could be lighter munition, could be different other assets which are available. So what do we achieve with this is that the air battle tactics, target selection and prioritization, decision and command and control remains with the manned platform. What does unmanned do? It executes decisions which are given to it and carries out tactical maneuvering. For targeting, it is very important to revisit the OODA loop, which is the observe, orientate, decide and act. John Boyd, long time back, gave this out. So as per Air Force, what we think is the observe domain of it, we could use the remote capability, which would be in a high risk environment and could be expendable. Whereas when it comes to orientate and decide, it would be a manned platform using cloud with edge computing to give a correct decision. Also augmented by AI as it develops and further moves ahead. Whereas the last portion, where is the act, which is the targeting, could once again be via unmanned platform, which could again be expendable or with high risk in a domain where he's entering. So if I move ahead, what will be the future Indian Air Force look like? It will be augmented with vectors and platforms, which will have mass, mobility, a mix of both, and also lethality and reach. We will have combat cloud, which will be AI infused, aided with solution. We would have a shorter OODA loop so that we can get into the enemy thought process. I leave you with a thought which was given long time back. No one can defeat a powerful mind. So totally unmanned, you may think what we believe is technology should aid the mindset and not replace it. With this, I will hand over back to Baduria, sir.
Thanks very much. And while the user perspective is very clearly put out, I think I would request all the other speakers, while we are responding in terms of your own domain expertise, at the end, devote 1 minute to the way forward. What, in your opinion, should Air Force do? So I would request you to kindly.
Thank you, Chairman Sir, for this opportunity. So, this is what the topic is, manned-unmanned teams for aerial warfare concept to targeting. And I must admit that we did some work, so I'll highlight that. But more importantly, what is that we understood out of this and where we think are the technological challenges and possibly weaknesses. So, next one, please. So clearly what we are aiming for here is lethality, situational awareness and survivability. These are the two key intent behind talking about the manned-unmanned teaming. And what we think is the solution side of things is having smart, connected and modular systems, manned, unmanned, working together. And the expectation is the unmanned part of it brings you the speed, the machine speed that you crave for, the speed at which you are able to process information and arrive at a reasonably correct decision. As compared to human speed of cognition, human speed of assimilation, and then take the decision. So that's what is the dichotomy, so to speak. And of course, all of this is completely predicated on communication between those platforms. Those are modular platforms, whether in the air, on the ground, manned or unmanned. And here you're trying to make sure that the unmanned part of it is essentially minimal in terms of power. So you are talking a little bit asymmetric in the sense that you can do more harm than what will befall you. So you're avoiding the human in the loop, increasing the speed of response. But as was mentioned by the previous speaker, also the ethics part of it has to be taken. So somewhere or the other, there has to be that human decision ultimately when it comes to targeting. But you're trying to minimize the power and maximize the bandwidth using the unmanned system. And as we can see clearly, the dull, dirty, and dangerous is where you would like to use or maximize the unmanned part of things, right? And clearly, it's not just limited to military. It is also very much has great deal of potential for civilian applications, whether it's situations like firefighting, search and rescue, hazmat accidents, law enforcement, all of that. The reason why I bring this is because this is one more way where you can use it to study those concepts, bring it to light, study what happens so that you get chance to develop those systems rather than being mostly military centric. So that's how overall I see the elements involved in this. And clearly there will be vulnerabilities with regard to communication, all of that, because it is totally dependent on a network centric scenario. So that in a sense is a vulnerability in my opinion. And of course, what work that we have been doing in the past, I would say at almost more than 2 decades, we've got good experience on multi-target tracking, both passive, active sensors of various kinds which are listed out there. We've been working a lot on multi-sensor fusion, both for the LCA Mark II and the AMCA itself. There is this concept of learning associated with AI, which means you must have the ability to digest a posteriori knowledge. That means knowledge which you got on the field, you should be able to fit back into your models. Whatever is the model that you're carrying, whatever the AI model which is supposedly learning from all this in the process of being deployed repeatedly either in a simulation setup or in a real world setup. So therefore, the concept of Bayesian thing comes in mathematically in that sense. And clearly, we have been working on this for a while with the AST for some time and then subsequently on our own. The other aspect which was briefly highlighted by the previous speaker was the human factors aspect of it. When you're putting a man and a machine in a loop, the machine is faster. However, you will still need elements of the human being involved in the decision making, and therefore you need to worry about what is the workload that you're putting on to the human being, how much of it is translated to the machine, how much of it is taken by the human being, how the entire system works. And we have been working on eye tracking as multimodal, one of the approaches to speeding up the human loop as well as using multimodal inputs, not just haptic inputs, not just visual or audio inputs, but also eye tracking potentially. All of those can play some role in this integration of man and machine. Of course, we built a simulator for the AMCA, which is also been used to some extent primarily for the human factors part of it, but can also be increasingly used as a test bed to try out the simulation part of things. But ultimately, there will have to be some kind of testing which will have to be done in the real world. And overall, I would advocate a system of systems approach. So that's how we look at this entire gamut of activities. So I would say the time is ripe to get into these aspects. Where it will take us is a matter of what we discover, how we discover, and how we address the vulnerabilities and how we enhance the effectiveness in terms of lethality, situational awareness, and all that I said in the beginning. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you really for taking time. With request from Semilac perspective. And it's my attempt that we'll keep at least 3-4 minutes for interaction with the audience for questions. So we are really sticking to time.
Thank you, Chairman. So I'm from Semilac, and regarding MUMT or Combat Collaborative Aircraft, today I'll be speaking on the certification challenges that lay ahead. Yes. MUMT, what are we looking at? It is a combat strategy that leverages the collaboration between the manned and the unmanned asset so as to enhance the combat effectiveness while augmenting the survival chances of the parent aircraft. Together calls for the MUMT technology, which is manned-unmanned teaming. This is going to have its nascent beginnings. It will evolve. It will evolve to an extent, to the extent that we have clarity, but at some day, definitely, this is going to be a definite reality because the future looks at MUMT as a concept for combat. When air power and air superiority was seen as a formidable force, people said, yes, this is the one that's going to dictate the future war. Very soon, you all know, at some point, people mentioned that the future is going to be UAVs, but the natural evolution or the logical step is the combination of the two, which is the manned-unmanned teaming, which the future is going to see. So if you look at, if you do a SWOT analysis and look at what's in store for us, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, yes, it's going to give enhanced capabilities because you're marrying the capability of a manned and an unmanned aircraft. Increased safety, we have seen that. Operational flexibility, you go with something in mind, but quickly there is a dynamic scenario happening and you quickly need to assign, reappropriate. This technology offers you that. And yes, if the unmanned asset can be a sacrificial asset, if it can be dispensable, yes, it is a very, very cost-effective solution as well. Opportunities. Now, what is an opportunity? Do we need to go for it? Are we ready for it? Firstly, is the future requiring it? The way it looks, yes, it is a natural and logical evolution. The future is looking at it, therefore there is an opportunity. Are we geared up for it? Do we have the technologies that are going to be feasible to do it? What are the technologies that we may be requiring it? Yes, you need higher computational power. You need a very strong, secure data links communication. You need multi-sensor data fusion. You need super-cooled equipments and also very good HMI that comes to the pilot so his workload is reduced. So are we having such technologies? We'll have a look at it. We are there, almost there, because you need sophisticated algorithms. You need autonomy to be given to the UAVs. And are we there yet? Do we have that capability in the country? It appears, yes, we are there, but not fully there. And therefore, if you look at it, we do have opportunities to start realizing these concepts. And coming to weaknesses, it is a very complex integration. It is a fusion of several sensors. You're looking at radars, you're looking at electronic warfare, you're looking at combined interrogator transponders, then you're looking at EVO payloads. All these need to work together. You have an aircraft, you have a UAVs, and there's a strong data link. Therefore, it's a very, very complex integration. There's IRS and ICDs need to be perfect, and it's definitely an increased pilot workload. Not only he needs to fly the aircraft, but he now needs to fly the unmanned aircraft as well, sitting in the cockpit. So you can imagine how intensive it's going to be, the pilot, and reliability concerns. There are reliability concerns because if these don't work on any given day, when you're going for the warfare, if they don't work, if there's going to be an issue, then the survivability that we're talking of becomes a question. The collateral damages that can occur from the UAVs, again, it's going to be a question. It's one order more because it's going to be totally divergent and uncontrollable. And it is going to be subjected into a very, very high RF intensive environment, and therefore it is susceptible to the EMI and EMC. Threats. We are going to share airspace between manned and unmanned. Not only that, you're going to share airspace between unmanned and unmanned. Each of the unmanned asset will have a different role, and therefore collision avoidance is going to be a challenge. Bandwidth and ComSec risks. ComSec communication security is extremely important. What is used to link between the mother and the child can also be used against you, and the assets can go rogue. Therefore, communication security is extremely important. The human-machine interface, which needs to reduce the cognitive load of the pilot, has to have a separate look onto it. You must have a reliable multi-sensor data fusion, which means there are different units which operate on different embedded software. The information from all these sensors need to be collated. There has to be algorithms, AI-based algorithms, which will sample these data, look into what is right, what is not right, eliminate, vote out what is not right, and to cohesively bring that information to the pilot so as to he can take informed decision and he has a better situational awareness. And of course, regulatory and certification challenges are going to be there because these are extremely new. So those areas are the ones where it's going to be a challenge for certification. And just to start with, if we certification design agencies have the ConOps just from the point of system engineering point of view, giving the information of the environment, the limitations, and the capability and the envelope, to that extent it can enable the designers and the technical evidence authorities to look into the complete design and test adequacy. Yes, we spoke about communication and data reliability. It has to be extremely secure, it has to be crucial, and it has to handle huge volumes of data because there are many sensors and each of them will have their own baud rate, each of them will have their own sample rate. All of these need to be acquired at the right instant, and the cognitive essence need to be generated out of them. Cybersecurity is extremely important. The very technology which enables MUMT can be used against if not protected properly. Spoofing is very common, and it needs to be protected against such endeavors. And therefore, it's not only the communication link, we're looking at the flight control system, which will generally be a fly-by-wire. It needs to protect if anything goes wrong. It could have an unwanted, unintentional collateral damage as well. So cybersecurity becomes an important aspect when you start integrating, and therefore it is going to be a challenge. And moving forward, autonomy and AI integration. The autonomy that we've done so far, the autonomy that is going to be required in MUMT technology is going to be one order more, because the scenario is dynamically changing, and therefore you need to have AI-based driven algorithms which look into this data and quickly, dynamically keep updating so as to keep changing the autonomous requirements for the UAV as well. And finally, we are looking at the human-machine interface. To reduce the cognitive load, you need to have very intuitive and a very efficient interface which will manifest as having a separate unit in the cockpit that can provide all the necessary information that a pilot would need, not only to fly his aircraft, but also to control the sensors and the flight controls of the UAV in order to achieve the single point goal of the mission. So these are all the challenges which we are going to face. It's easily said than done. And moving forward, sensor integration. As I mentioned, you're going to have a lot of sensors. Sensors to offend, sensors to defend. You need sensors that will need to transmit data. You have communication data, you have visuals data, you have the movies, you need to do some kind of assessment, you need to have such high baud rate, and all these need to be combined, and unless you have a multi-center data fusion, it is going to be a challenge. And this has to be done in real time, which means the speeds, it should have no lag. The moment there is a lag, the opportunity is missed, and therefore the pilot will actually be acting on something that has happened given earlier and not on what has been given current. And the criticality classification. We make a beautiful aircraft, we make a safe aircraft. Aircraft from the aeromechanical point of view, from structures, flight control system, as well as the engine. But what good it is if it is safe, but then on any given day when it has to fight a war, when the systems that you integrate do not function at that point of time. It reduces the survivability index of the aircraft, and you tend to lose the aircraft. So having a safe aircraft is not just enough. You need to have an aircraft that is high in its survivability as well, and only then together you can call as an aircraft as safe when it goes to fight the war. So to conclude, let me move on. The requirements are very stringent and they are very new. It's new because first time it's going to be handled in the country. That's where I said it will be nascent, but then it will evolve as we go on. And it's definitely going to be a challenge to both the designers as well as certification agency. And the only way out is a process-driven approach, which means you have the top-level requirements, you freeze them, you're very clear about them, you have the system level, you have the subsystem level, and each of these requirements would need to be mapped. You need to map them to the design, you need to map them to the reliability, you need to map them to the redundancies that you may need, because you need to have that kind of a feeling of security when you're going out for the war. And then you need to map to the testing as well. The testing can be analysis, it could be ground testing, it could be flight testing, it could be combined testing on another aircraft, a technology demonstrator, proving the systems and then putting it onto the actual parent aircraft. All these have to be laid out a priori and a plan has to be done. And therefore the criticality classification It should depend on the survivability and the collateral damage, not necessarily the probability of loss of control of an aircraft. It can be a case-to-case basis. It need not be holistic to the entire systems, depending on which system fails. And yes, and finally, it will be a concurrent approach and a progressive clearance that the CEMLAC would undertake. So thank you. And just one point which Chairman asked is, how do we go forward? There are islands of excellence and expertise in the country. We've got aircraft manufacturer, we have aircraft designer, we have, for the first time, we are going to attempt MSDF on Mark II. For the first time, we are going to come out with the AI-based algorithms at HAL, ADA, and ADE, which looks at data links. We need to combine them together in order to enable this realization. And wherever we fall short, collaboration, strategic partnership, and joint ventures should also be considered, because there are countries who are quite advanced. Raytheon, for example, they call it as a combat collaborative aircraft. They're advanced in this. If there's something can happen, that should fill the gaps that we are seeing. So I feel that should be the way forward approach, in my opinion, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Samir. All yours.
Chairman, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'll give you the industry perspective on man-on-man teaming, specifically centered around collaborative combat aircraft, because this is going to be the manifestation, true manifestation in which the men in blues are going to utilize this tech in the days ahead. So, larger issue which the industry faces is lack of clarity. So this is a new tech, it's the blue sky research area. Not only is Air Force kind of grappling with what kind of ConOps, what kind of usage of this technology will come in the future, but the industry is also, kind of wearing the thinking hats and kind of wondering what is that technology and the product that we can pitch to the Indian Air Force, which can be utilized into a meaningful, at least a technology demonstration and going forward. Now, this has been going on for a while, but the fact of the matter is that I'm very glad to see that all speakers, the way they've covered and the seriousness of the Air Force towards MUMT is coming up. I think the moment is now on with us. And this is where the perspective from the industry lies around learning from countries who have done this to a great extent. And here, the US is the global leader. They have been working for a very long time in CCAs, in developing this technology. And I will kind of, quickly take you around what kind of paradigm is available to us to take lessons from. So the basic problem which everybody across the world is facing is the emergence of A2AD bubbles. Now, these bubbles are, layers of defenses. We are only going to get fortified more and more. This is just an example of South China Sea, the way the US looks at it. With the advent of fifth generation platforms intermixing along with fourth generation, the whole dynamics are changing. Now, towards this, will your standard kill chain, the philosophies, the doctrines which the Air Force or the manned platform fleet with strike corridors, with OCA, DC emissions, will it survive to that an extent? Yeah, it may or may not survive. But the fact of the matter, one thing we all agree upon is that it's definitely going to cause a lot of attrition. So this is where the kill chain is now going to change into something what we term as the kill web. And that is where MUMT and especially collaborative combat aircraft, or also called as loyal wingman, they're going to emerge in a big, big way. So this concept is actually going to support a lot of operations for the 4.5 gen as well as the 5th gen capabilities being deployed. Now, especially for air-to-air missions, largely because there is a larger part of that layer which is airborne, and of course, towards the ground defenses, towards surface-to-air missiles, etc., etc. Now, these CCAs are going to be the clear vector which is going to support these operations, which are going to operate as a robotic layer between you and the enemy and be part of this mesh. They will be utilizing further augmentations through standoff platforms, through other sensors distributed amongst them, and taking it forward alongside technologies. The technologies are largely going to be sensors, long-range detection, radars, also going to be on-edge computing, because intelligence will play a big, big role here. Mesh communications, secure data links, etc., etc., and of course, cyber protection. This is the advantage what a CCA gives you. On the left side, you have a 4th gen aircraft fighting a 5th gen. It's a stray cut. It's the long reach. One who sees first, obviously the stealth aircraft is going to see you first because he is going to delay detection by you, so he has that advantage. What about if we prepare a layer between, a 4th gen aircraft and a 5th gen aircraft? These aircrafts are definitely going to aid in a much more kind of detection and delay in acquisition for the other side, as well as threaten him to a great extent and pare back the same. So what are the inferences we are getting? We are getting that fourth, fifth gen aircraft are exquisite expensive, available in fewer numbers. Recent conflicts have, spiked up the A2AD use, where the concept of sizable mass is just not possible to get through in a manifestation in the manned forms. So we will introduce again this combat mass through robotic platforms, CCA being one. MUMT is the layer which kind of takes it forward. Now this can disaggregate sensors and payloads across dispersed, less exquisite vehicle types. You need not have a very highly, multi-role platform. You may be a specific CCA which is air-to-air. You maybe have something which is for air-to-ground operations. And of course, the CCAs, once they come on boards, and I'm just using this word CCA, we can get any kind of word around this, but that platform kind of increases the density. It gives you a higher chance of picking the other side, because whatever said and done, the other side does not have magical sensors. And as we